So welcome to today's event. I'm Gemma Monk-Hartley from Herefordshire Green Network's Building Sense Group. We're an initiative that was started in 2020 to bring together people, information and professional expertise to help with the challenge of making homes comfortable year-round in the face of high heating bills and cutting carbon emissions. Since 2022, we've been partnering with local charity March's Energy Agency on the Future Ready Homes programme, which promotes and supports good practice retrofit of homes across the Marches area, which is Shropshire, Telford, Wrekin and Herefordshire. It's doing that through webinar series like this, through retrofit advice, and through the physical Green Open Homes event. We've also got the Future Ready Homes directory of local recommended retrofit professionals and installers for those of you that are starting your projects. So today we have Andrew and Yolande here. They live near Ross-on-Wye, and they're going to be talking about planning their new eco home, which has been designed to connect to the land in a circular system. Really exciting, really pioneering, particularly for Herefordshire, but I think possibly also nationally. So very excited to have you talking to us today. And I shall stop sharing my screen and hand over to you.
She's got to give us, yeah.
Here is our presentation.
All right. Can you see the presentation,
No,
Gemma?
no, I haven't shared it yet.
Okay, right. Is she given those?
No, I have to find the share button.
Yeah, share. Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, perfect.
Yep, great.
You're on.
I'm on. Okay. As you can see, I'm not Andrew Hepdahay, but yeah, I'm Yolande Watson, and I hope that you can all hear me well. So thank you, Jenna, for the introduction, and thanks to all of you who have come to listen and attending the session. I'm going to talk about who we are and what we do currently on the site, and our basic philosophy about living lightly on the earth. Andrew's going to talk about the design concepts and actually really fill those out for you so you can understand what are the integral parts of the actual build. I just want to say that it took us 2 years to actually get planning permission, and despite no statutory objections from statutory consultees, and we had more support than objectors, 9-3, and a positive recommendation from the planning officer at Herefordshire Council, we were still referred and had to attend the Planning and Regulatory Committee on the 30th of July 2025, this year. And that's actually available on YouTube if you want to watch that process. And in that recording, you'll actually hear that our ward councillor actually called it a carbuncle. So we thought we might call the cottage or the house Carbuncle Cottage as a tongue-in-cheek, but actually manor is a house that won't cause pain, but actually enhance joy. Manor is a Polynesian term that means that the life force that permeates the universe, it's all about oneness, all things are connected, and nature is at its heart. So, Andrew, can you put the next slide on?
I don't know how to do that.
Page up and down?
No, well, because it's displayed, I've got to. Oh dear.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, this is technical things. So currently, this is a view of our garden looking down towards our neighbour's field, which is a former lime quarry. On the right-hand side, you can actually see where the red outline, and that's actually where the site is, with the outline of the house and 2 little sheds. One is greenhouse and one is actually our, garden shed stroke tool shed. And on the field, it's actually a larger site. It's about 1 acre, and it's got 2 lime kilns. It's so we use it currently for domestic food production for us. We grow our vegetables, our soft fruit, and our orchard. And we also grow unusual seeds like quinoa and amaranth. And this year, actually, our seeds were taken by the Heritage Seed Library, and they're going to be growing them because we keep our seeds, and they're really resilient, and we get a great harvest. So we're so our quinoa is going to be in the Heritage Seed Library, which is absolutely exciting, so fantastic. The site is also outside of the red line, and is part of a local wildlife site. And for us, we've actually been creating it more as a wildlife haven with a wildflower meadow, and we've been planting up more of a woodland, and we've put in a wildlife pond. And we're really thrilled because in the 12 years that we've been here, when we first started 2 years in, we counted that it was about 40 wildlife flowers, and we've now got nearly 90. So it shows that by being, treating the earth and treating nature with respect, we don't use any mechanical form, so Andrew scythes it, I toss the hay, and we reuse the hay for our mulching and everything else. So everything's in circle. So so next slide. Yeah, thanks. So we live 2 kilometres from the River Wye, which is declining. And so when we had, it really came to us about, because to be honest, I used to be a Herefordshire councillor up to 2023. And I used to sit on the planning committee, but I was really disappointed about the lack of vision, I think, in planning. And I have to say, I don't think we can wait till policy to actually present us with opportunities. I think that, unfortunately, in Herefordshire, we don't have the one planet development like Wales do. So Andrew and I, we are at the forefront, and it is quite woo-woo, I think, for Herefordshire to have a waterless toilet and to have an integrated wetland system, which Andrew will talk about. But in permaculture, because we're both permaculturists, and it's really about that diagram, everything is connected, and it's about zoning, it's about being natural and healthy and carbon negative, and just simple. We love simplicity. Another word for permaculture is holistic systems thinking. It's about efficiency, minimal input, maximum yield. And it's about earth care, people care, and fair share. But we've also include future care in this as well, because this is what we would really like to see in rural areas. It's small, it's and actually it can be returned to the earth at the end of its life cycle. So so that's me, and I'll pass over to Andrew.
Okay, so to live out those concepts, we kind of have these design features or elements in the house. You can see the house on the right. It's a single-story, 1-bedroomed house with lots of glass on the south side and solar panels, and but it looks like a normal house. So it's not going to be a hobbit house or a round house or something really weird, but it is going to be aesthetically lovely, very simple, and a joy to live in. So that's the idea. We wanted to have very simple foundations, and we absolutely did not want concrete, which in the planning committee was quite an issue with one guy who was a councillor but also a builder, and he said, "Oh, it'll fall down," but he still voted for it. So Anyway, so simple foundations and no concrete. We're going to have a suspended floor. We're going to have hempcrete walls, which I'll talk about later. There'll be lime render on the outside, and that's partly to reflect the fact that it's the site is between lime kilns and a lime quarry, so it's a bit of heritage statement there. Clay plaster on the inside, so another natural material. Triple glazing to get the insulation good. A green roof made out of sedum with PV panels on it, and a waterless toilet, otherwise known as a compost toilet. A wet system, so wet stands for wetland ecosystem treatment. So it's a wetland ecosystem treatment system for drainage. There's no package treatment plant involved or septic tank or anything like that. And an earthen floor. So those are the elements I'm going to talk through now. So we start with the foundations. So to have no concrete, we've kind of settled on two options, but haven't made our choice yet. But we're probably leaning towards the one on the left. So I'll start with that. So the one on the left, we would dig trenches around the perimeter of the house, fill it with basically rubble, build a short brick wall on it, and then sit the house on top of that. So there's no concrete, there's not so much very much excavation, and we didn't want to have a lot of excavation. We wanted something which would go in really quickly. So the other alternative is on the right, which is screw piles, and these are very easy to fit. You just come along, you don't have to clear the ground. You just come along with a small machine, which is smaller than a car, and they just screw them into the ground until they get the right torque, and then they stop and they cap them off, and then you build your house on top of that. So, but the reason for no concrete is that we're very conscious that it takes a lot of carbon. Uses a lot of carbon to make. So 7% of global carbon emissions are from concrete production, and it's very water intensive in its production as well. So, but from our point of view, practicality is that it's cold. It's a cold material. We've got a house now with concrete under the floors, and they're very cold. And having watched other people's houses go up around us, they're very slow to install. So very time suckers really. So that's it. We'd probably go for the rubble trench because it's simple and natural, and embodies less carbon than the steel screw piles, and it's going to be cheaper. So the walls, so there'll be a timber frame that goes up, and around the timber frame will be hempcrete. So hemp is the cannabis plant without the addictive materials in it, and it's made from what they call the sheaves, which is if you strip off the outer part of the stalk, the main stem, you end up with a woody material inside. Those are the sheaves. They're made into small pieces. You can see on the left kind of what size the pieces are typically, so they're not that small. It's mixed with lime and water, and then applied. So for us, hemp is really good because it absorbs carbon, a lot of carbon dioxide during its growth period. It's much more absorbent than a forest, for instance, forest trees. So hemp typically absorbs between 8 and 15 tons per hectare of carbon, and a forest, for instance, in comparison, is 2 to 6. So it's 2 or 3 or 4 times more absorbent. And also the lime in the hempcrete continues to absorb CO2 during its lifetime. So a figure I read was 110 kilograms of carbon absorbed per cubic meter. So that's a fairly good contribution to climate action. And one of the a number of the things that really sold us, it was going up to East Yorkshire to the East Yorkshire Hemp Company, where the owners had built a house with hemp, and standing in the house, the atmosphere was absolutely wonderful. And it comes from the fact that it's a really good solid mass of material. It's sound absorbing, so it sounds peaceful. And because of the nature of the material, it's breathable, so it'll absorb humidity. It'll even pass air through it, but it's highly insulating. So it does humidity control in the house, which adds to the feeling when you stand in a house like that. And the options for putting it in are to cast it, as you see in the picture on the left. It can be sprayed on, which is probably the most efficient and quickest means of applying it, or you can build it with blocks like like concrete blocks, but made out of hempcrete. And if you look on the right, you can see there's a feature wall there, which is hemp, and it's been left on show because it is quite a beautiful surface as well. So that's really I think all I want to say. Oh yeah, so the other thing is that because it's absorbs moisture and breathes, it doesn't need all the extra layers that most houses do. So it doesn't need a breathability layer, it doesn't need a moisture layer, and these are extra layers of plastic or materials that go on the outside. So we would have just one layer of wall. It would be hemp, and on the outside we would put lime render, and on the inside we put clay plaster, and they are both also absorbing. So it's minimal elements. So again, part of the simplicity argument. So on the outside we would put lime render. And lime render is breathable as well. It's a moisture control, so it absorbs moisture. It's vapor permeable. And because of the lime, again, it absorbs CO2. So it's a house that's sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere. And you can see a picture on the right of the clay plaster. This is one color that you can have and looks really stunning. It's a bit monochromatic, but I really like, the colors that you can get with clay plaster. It's a natural material. It's got thermal mass, so it helps keep the heat in when it's cold outside, keeps the house cool when it's hot outside, and again, it's breathable. So those are the three layers: lime render, clay plaster, and hempcrete in the middle. And the other natural material we're looking to put in part of the house at least is an earth floor. So earth floor, it's made out of earth. We could make it out of the earth that we dig out for the foundations, or we could import it if we want something slightly different. And it's mixed up with straw and applied and allowed to dry. And it's a really soft touch underfoot. It's durable because it hardens, it goes off, and you can put furniture on it, you can walk across it. Just don't use stilettos, so it'll be a no shoe house. And it's also insulating, so it'd be a nice material to stand on. On the roof, we're going to have these sorts of trays to cover the entire roof with sedum. And they come in interlocking trays. In the tray, you've got the growing materials, and the compost, and the sedum plants. It comes ready populated, fully grown, and you just go on the roof and slot them together until the roof's covered. So it's a very easy thing to put on the roof, and it's a very beautiful thing. And it'll help with insulation. There'll be less variation in temperatures through the roof, and it'll absorb maybe half the rainfall that falls on it will go into the plants themselves and then evapotranspirate into the air, which means there's less surface water coming out and potentially flooding the land. And of course, it's great for biodiversity. And the last thing it's going to do, because we're having solar PV on the roof, it's going to moderate the temperatures for the solar panels, and that gives them a better efficiency and a longer life. So here we go. On the top left, you can see the solar panels. In this picture, the green roof is sitting underneath them as well. I'm not sure whether we'll have it underneath or just around. But yeah, we're going to mix up solar panels and a green roof. There aren't many examples we've been able to find where people do that. We've got solar panels on our current house, and they've paid for themselves in terms of the feed-in tariffs that we've been able to have over the last 12 years, and they're generating profit now. But in today's climate or economic climates, then they're not so easy to get grants for or payments for. It's more of a free market now, and we would like to have batteries as well to balance the power, so we've always got some power even when the sun's not shining. But it becomes a question of how much payback can we get to pay for the investment. And in our current house, we use an average of about 3 units a day of electricity, and it's very hard to justify any capital expense on 3 units a day, even with a decent feed-in tariff. So we are going to have batteries, and the other element we're going to have is in the bottom right-hand corner. We're going to have a hot water tank that looks about that size. So this is I think this is an 80-litre one in that picture, and you can see next to the washing machine, it's quite compact. And on the top of the tank is an air source heat pump. So rather than have a separate air source heat pump outside and lots of plumbing, you can just have an integrated unit, and you plumb it in with a couple of pipes and a couple of wires, and it's up and running. So we're hoping to have that, and the whole thing that's most interesting in terms of paying for these investments is in the chart on the bottom at the left. And this is a chart that Octopus has, where they have tariffs now, where you can, if you've got this sort of technology, you can, in the wee small hours of the morning, get a low tariff to charge up your batteries and run the air source heat pump hot water tank. And then in the late afternoon, when there is peak demand, you can discharge the batteries back into the grid and make a profit. So you can actually make money out of having batteries, and that's the turning point for us in our consideration of having batteries. And you can either program it manually yourself on one tariff, or you can get a tariff with Octopus where they basically manage it for you and they control your batteries. And you know, you can make a few £100 in a year just by having batteries. So, and the other thing that the little water tank in the air source heat pump does is it can power a little radiator, and because the house is so well insulated, probably one little radiator would be enough to heat the whole house. So it might be possible to do it off an air source heat pump tank. Maybe a slightly larger one than that, but so that's what we're exploring. So we're trying to be as off-grid as possible, and this is as far as we've got so far. As for drainage, we've got a waterless toilet. This is a waterless toilet. Looks like a normal toilet, doesn't it? And so it doesn't look scary. It doesn't look like a compost toilet where you have to, you know, go down the garden and enter a wooden shack and sit on top of a pile of feces. It's a normal looking toilet. It does need emptying. It separates the liquids and the solids, but it doesn't use water. So and if you look at you know, typical water usages for a toilet can be 100 litres plus in a day for a typical house. So that's a lot of water, really is a lot of water. And so we're avoiding all that impact on the environment from having to flush away our waste materials with good drinking water. I think in the future this country is going to have trouble with water supplies given the weather patterns we have, and no more reservoirs being built and populations going up. So this is a good investment for the future, I think. And because there's no sewage, there's no need to have a package treatment plant or a septic tank to settle out solids, because the solids are settled out in the toilet and composted separately. The other part of the drainage is all the grey waters that come out of the house from the kitchen sink, the shower, the bathroom sink. Then those will all go to feed the garden. So I've made a picture here. I don't know whether, can you see my cursor, the pink one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So from the house, the grey waters would go into this light blue area, which is the first part of the wet system. So this is a subsurface flow, and it's also where we'd have our raised beds for growing our vegetables. And the water would flow up and down here, and then back into the out into this green area, which is a willow coppice area. And the willow coppice is a very thirsty and hungry plant, and it will absorb all any residual waters and phosphates and nitrates and things like that. So we are effectively feeding and watering our vegetables first, and then our coppice, willow coppice area second. And it's a whole line system, so it's like a big pond with soil in it. And so there's no outflow, there's no pollution coming out of it. All the water, and it's sized to very easily absorb all the water and nutrients, and have no output. So there's no pollution risk. And given we're in the Wye Valley catchment, and the river is declining in health, then it's an important factor, and it's one of the things that we really struggled with in the planning process, but got through it through gritted teeth and determination. On the right, then the material. This is a top looking from the top. The water will come into. It's a series of trenches and swales. So there's these brown lines are where the soil will be higher, or the level of the ground will be higher, and the water will flow naturally along from left to right, and then drops through a pipe to the next level, which is a bit lower, and goes up to the other end, and then drops through another pipe to another lower area where the willow coppice is. So that's how it flows naturally. And in that process, it's treated by the soil, the bacteria in the soil. It's treated by the chemical makeup, because we're on limestone, and phosphate naturally merge together and create inert materials. So by the time it gets to the coppice, it's probably clean anyway, but this will mop up any remaining moisture and nutrients, and it's all been sized and proven to have the efficacy we need. And in the cross section across here, you can see it goes. This is one of the swales, and that's another. And then that's the willow one. So that's how that works. And now, so talking about circular systems. So here we're talking about one element is the rainwater. The rainwater comes off the roof and goes into this suds pond, which is at the top end. So it'll be a beautiful pond, 6.5 meters by 5 meters, with plants in it and stuff like that. That's where the bulk of the water will go. And then we can use that water, we can siphon it off into the orchard area, which is here, or we could even siphon it off into the vegetable area if we're short of water, although that should be self-sufficient from the house. Another element is the grey water I talked about. So it's coming from the house down this way, and then across, and then back up that way, and then across, and then back down that way. And and it's that's how the grey water goes, and it's feeding and watering our garden, so there's no waste. From the compost toilet, which will sit in this corner, we'll transport it out to a compost bin around here somewhere, compost it for 12 months, and then it's all the pathogens are dead, and it's just like normal compost. It's soft and friable and dry, and we can put it on the garden wherever we want, probably on trees more than vegetables, and that's feeding our garden. So that's everything that's going out, and then the recycle is that the food coming back in is provided for by what's coming out of the house, and then the whole cycle goes around again, because we go back to the toilet and wash our hands, and it all cycles round and around in circles. So that's the idea of the recyclability, and the whole idea is that there's no waste, there's only resource. We see everything that is traditionally seen as waste as a resource, and that's a permaculture principle. And the problem of what do we do with all the grey water and all the toilet material is not a problem, because it becomes a solution. It becomes a solution as to how we're going to keep our garden watered and fed. So there's a couple of permaculture principles. The wet system has been designed and will be implemented by Biologic Design. So Jay Abrahams, who's a Herefordshire lad, and he's going to do it. It's a large system. It's 300 square meters. Whereas the norm that Jay always quotes, and we've seen it elsewhere, is per person you're allowed 10 square meters. But because we had to fight our way through the planning system, it ended up being ridiculously big. So the next person coming along should be able to get away with a smaller system, as the planning authority gets used to it. But by the way, Herefordshire Council drainage team now love wet systems. They started off, they hated them. But we've pioneered our way through that and turned them around. Okay, so that's the end of our talking, and we're open for questions.
Lovely, thank you very much. Yeah, that's really inspiring and pioneering. I just love that it's completely future-proofing and kind of entirely modern and future way of thinking. However, it's not. It's kind of going right back to how things would have been done in the past, using local materials, using what you grow. Yeah, and I really love that it's not even, we're sort of talking as much as we can about being carbon neutral where we can in our lives, but actually you're showing here a home can do far better than that. It can be massively carbon positive, which is such a shift. I mean, that is just turning everything on its head, that move away from all those petrochemical based materials that we have been using for so long in construction, and we don't have to. It is not a given. It's not essential, and we have plenty of natural materials we can be using. So yeah, really, really inspiring and exciting. Just because I think I haven't quite got my head around it, what's coming in? So you're having solar panels, but are you also on the grid as well there?
Yes, we would like to be off grid, and we did look at wind turbines, but the market's very immature, and the solutions are not really very good or effective. So we're thinking we can do almost the equivalent if we latch onto one of these smart tariffs. We might be able to, reduce our electricity usage, as it were. But
and we're also having to have mains water because we don't have a local water source. Our water source, it's a trickle 60 meters low, like beyond 60 meters. So, we are using minimal water. As part of the planning process, you have to demonstrate water efficiency anyway. And we're looking to 60 litres a day between us, compared to the average of, I think it's 120.
110 is the
110.
target.
Yeah, so it's nearly half, and because we're not having a toilet, and we've got smart, a smart washing machine. The other thing I want to also point out as well, Gemma, is that we use low to no phosphate detergents. So, because I was horrified on the initial application when Balfour Beatty drainage, consultant came in and said about using bleach. Well, I have to say I shrieked in shock, because we don't use that. We use natural, like, bicarb, sodium bicarb, lemon juice, white vinegar, so for us it's a whole philosophy. We eat what we, it's you eat what we're human composters ourselves as humans. And this is a holistic system as well.
Yeah, you're already very aware of what you're putting out, because it's coming straight back in and it's what you're eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of sorry, my last question, then it's over to everyone else. So please start thinking of your questions. Who has come up with the design for this, and how much sort of did you do a load of the research first and you essentially knew what you wanted, and then it was just finding an architect that put that vision into practice? Or was it we've got a rough idea, but we're going to hand it over to an architect? How did it
we're a couple who have very strong ideas of what we want to achieve, and I don't know, about 3 years ago we spoke to one of the architects, or one of the planning consultants who helped draft the One Planet development for Wales, and we hired him and his architect to help us design it. But we had to be quite pushy as well about not compromising on our standards, and that caused a bit of tension. But we proved that our intention was doable as well, and because we got it through planning, where we were advised probably it wouldn't go through planning.
Yeah.
So we did get it through, and now we've got an architect who lives just across the border in Wales, who's a permaculturist as well, and he is just brilliant. He gets it in spades, and he even takes us further than in our thinking than we've researched and advised.
And for us, we've done cot building, we've done straw bale work, we've been around because we've volunteered around the world. We've seen different practices, and we learn from Indigenous cultures. And as you're saying, this is a way that we have all lived before, is that with the outhouses and all that night soil. And I think for us is that, the way that we live, Gemma, it's a natural extension of who we are. And I think that, I think it's COP30 at the moment. And I think we need to demonstrate to the policymakers what is possible. I don't think we can wait for them. So we've been really pushy from the start. And it's about, I grew up on a farm in New Zealand that only, we drank rainwater, and we had grey water systems. And my dad being a Yorkshireman, he didn't like paying out money. His arms were short and his pockets were deep. And but you learn to appreciate like the things like water when there's a long drought. And I think, we just need to, we are conscious consumers. I think that's who we are. And so if you ask our architects, they'll tell you that we're very hands-on and we're very clear about what we don't or do, because we do the research. And and it's done elsewhere in the world, so why can't we do it here? So, and it will save a lot of problems.
And if you found the right people, which we have, so
we
Jay
have got a great team
from Biologic Design, he's a permaculturist. Our builder's a permaculturist. There's enough people out there, and our hempcrete guy, he's like the world expert in hempcrete, and we've got the world expert in sustainable drainage
and we have got some great architects around. We interviewed 5 architects. Grain with Yana and her team. We did Green Futures. We did,
And
and I'll give you the list because it was a fantastic.
yeah, there's a lot of
And
talent
they,
there.
and they were really keen.
Yeah.
And they want this kind of project. They want this kind of thing to do because it's what, you know, green architects want to do. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
And the other thing, if you follow if you're a permaculturist and you understand permaculture, you really absorb it, then the solutions come out. You know, you don't have to stress over them because the right solution presents itself.
Yeah.
No, that'd be great
So-
if you could share those details, and I'll share them with everyone that was on the call as well.
Okay.
That would be
Brilliant.
really, really useful. But yeah, I think it also highlights that, which is it's the same in other building works that you're having done, particularly if you're doing something a bit different. But if you can be clear on what you want, what are you trying to achieve, what is your vision, and then make sure you can partner with someone that actually gets that vision, then I think you're halfway there. It's when you're coming in with different ideas, or if you haven't got a strong idea, and then you're going to be railroaded and you might not get the outcome that you want. So yeah, that's
Definitely.
really interesting. Right, are there any other questions? I haven't seen any come in on the chat, but does anyone want to come off mute and ask anything at all? Everyone's being shy, are they? We do get this sometimes. Okay, well, I'm going to carry on asking questions for the moment then until anyone puts their hand up and jumps in. Have you got any targets that you're going for in terms of like, are you wanting to go to passive house standards in terms of your air changes, your air tightness and that sort of thing on the project, or or not really? I mean, it sounds like because of the size of the property and the materials that you're using and that sort of thing, and as long as they're installed well, I would imagine you're going to be getting really good levels of air tightness anyway, and you're getting good insulation levels as well.
The answer is no, no passive house standard, because, and the other thing is that we're trying not to make ourselves dependent on electricity and mechanical heat ventilation systems. You know, I can see, you know, but we've got two little windows, one on the east side and one on the west side, and you can open them up, and there'll be trickle vents in the you know, in the windows. But it's been one of the things that's constantly pointed, do we want to go passive house, blah, blah. And, you know, I think, if you're into passive house, good for you, but it wasn't for us.
Well, passive house is a certified standard, and we're going to do nearly all of that, but we don't want a certificate, so we can pick and choose how far we want to go. So the MVHR thing, we just think no, we're not going to do that. But we do have to meet building regulations, so there's air tightness checks on that, and so we're going to go way beyond building regs, but no real standard.
And we're doing, you know, thermal lags, and we're doing about light, you know, like natural light within, because you'll see that the actual house looks like a New Zealand beach batch. You know, it's got a long veranda, you know, it's got an overhang where there's a veranda, but that's also for passive cooling as well, shading. And if we are going to have like another summer like this year, you know, it's going to be really lovely to sit under that veranda with the feet up and and looking out at the garden. I think that I used to lead the Dark Skies Herefordshire project, and you know, for me, there's a lot of floor to ceiling glazing going on, but there's no overhang, and so overheating and also glare, where for wildlife, birds flying into the windows, is something that people should really think about. And people might notice that actually we've got louvers going at the west side, because there's no windows on the north facing side near the hedgerow, so there's a 5-meter gap where we wanted bat runs, because we don't have any bats on, and so we've planted a hedgerow, so there's a hedgerow that goes nearly all around apart from the gates, the entrances. And so bats and wildlife can, you know, when we're on the front side, it's perfectly back at the back side, and we have no lighting or anything. And that's really unusual because, but again, we've put nature at the heart of what we're doing. We want, you know, we really want to be biomimicry, you know, in the sense of a natural building that breathes itself, like a hedgehog's house. You know, a hedgehog can build its own day nest and its hibernaculum, and it stays at an ambient temperature. So why can't we?
Yeah. We've had an interesting question that's come through, actually, which I think you could answer from different perspectives, but they're saying, if you had a normal house, whatever a house is, with you've already got solar panels on it, and you wanted to do just one more thing, what is it that you would choose to do? And I'm guessing, let's say about the house, but I think also garden, it would be worth answering on that as well, maybe.
Yes, rainwater harvesting would be, you know, about minimizing water use, you know, external water use. It would be not flush the toilet every time you go for a pee, you know, and you know, if it's yellow, leave it mellow.
The thing is, we
and
have a
use
normal house,
yes, we do,
which we're sitting in right now.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to find out what we've done to enhance that, go on our website and you'll see all sorts of examples about what we've done in the garden mostly. But we put on solar panels. We installed a log boiler stove to heat the house. We don't like oil or gas.
That's right.
Wood is not necessarily that much better, but it is better.
Yeah. We eat our main meal in the day. We use most electricity during the day.
And we've installed an air source heat pump, which we hardly ever use because it's so expensive to run. But I think insulation is very important. You know, hempcrete, for instance, we've mused on the idea of, you know, buying an old house and doing something with it. And we thought about buying an old house and putting straw bales all around it. But actually, you could just spray hempcrete on it to insulate it better, and then, you know, it's a better thermal situation for the house. So. Yeah, and I would, because I'm when I saw you yesterday, Gemma, I went to see it was Saturday, wasn't it? I saw the octopus people there, and it was you know, just like all the way the market is going, it's just so interesting. So I think I might even, if I was staying in this house, I might even get a battery and do this trading thing and supplement my solar panels output and store more of my own energy for my own usage for later, and you know, that might be a possibility. But...
Yeah, and we only have a small fridge. We don't have a freezer, so we don't. So we eat seasonally and locally, and we only buy what we need. One out, one in, you know.
And then there's the really strange stuff. You know, we're building a new house, and according to building regulations, we have to install an EV charger, electric vehicle charger.
And we do.
At least a terminal, I think. I'm not sure exactly what we've got to do, but it's in the building regulations, and we don't have a car. Never mind an EV. It's like. So why am I doing that? You know, by the time we sell the house and somebody else buys it, the technology will have changed. So it was a waste of money. So there's a corollary of that you can do too much, depending on your lifestyle.
Yeah, so it is about lifestyle choices. Use less, you know, buy less, and So as a house, I hope we've given a whole range of different things. And as Andrew said, if you go on our website, you can see actually about our philosophy of living lightly and what we do. And there's some, you know, even grow things in pots.
I will share that as well with people so that they can do a bit more research into that. And we also actually did a webinar some time ago about green tech retrofit, and that was talking about kind of that numbers game, your solar panels, your batteries, and or an air source heat pump, how you can play the game with the tariffs as well, to make maximum use out of that. So I will share that with people. Another question here from Lee Sherwood saying 1 bedroom could be viewed as quite limiting. Presumably there's a reason for that choice, apart from the obvious that there are just the two of you. And what did planning think of that, as it being a 1 bed?
Planning didn't bat an eyelid. They didn't even talk to us about it. We've got at one end of the house we've got a bedroom, and the other end of the house we've got a study. So if we had visitors, we could convert the study temporarily into a bedroom, and we'll have a futon in there so that we could do that. But the trend in the world is I want a bigger and bigger house. It's just the world's gone crazy building bigger and bigger houses, and we know people locally who knocked down an old house and then built a was it a 5-bedroom house and there's 2 of them. And it's like, I don't get that, you know. If you have a big house, then you're going to fill it up with lots of furniture, and you're probably going to store too much. And actually, the joy in life is not in the house or in what's in the house. It's outside. It's in life itself. It's interaction with nature. It's travel. It's community, talking with people. None of which involves a big house. Yeah, in my mind. And so so we're, you know, one of the concepts was simplicity, and it applies to the way we live our lives. And back in 2008, we got rid of almost all our possessions. We had a dining table and a few chairs and a bed and a pile of boxes, and got rid of everything else and went traveling. And it was just liberating to not have all that stuff to think about or to insure or to worry about or to maintain. It's a beautiful way of life. So, you know, if there's only 2 of us normally, then we only need 1 bedroom. If we do need another bedroom, that we'll find a solution to put some temporary beds up somewhere, and we can have people stay. And
the other thing too is that you know, if my family come from New Zealand, I can, you know, there's so many self-catering cottages around here, and you know, and I'd rather support rather than spend more money building an extra bed or an extra floor. I can, you know, I can help my community by supporting them economically, so financially.
Yeah. I completely agree. I did the same. I've been downsizing. I've gone from 4 beds down to 1 bed. And my principle, if people want to come and stay, there's some wonderful B&Bs, and I would much rather pay for their accommodation in some really nice places locally.
It's cheaper, isn't it? It's cheaper, and it's the same with, you know, the car thing. We don't have a car, so we don't have the cost of insuring it, maintaining it, MOTing it, filling it up with petrol, and that cost can be put into hiring a car when we need one, and we do that sometimes. And, or getting a taxi, and it's a lot cheaper.
And it's that circularity, sharing the money, the energy,
and it's not wasting Earth's resources unnecessarily, because we can't do it anymore. That time's gone.
So we've got an architect that is with us today, and I mean, he has said that he just loves to see projects where the clients are really driven by a desire to go green. So that's great. But he is wondering, did you ever get your project costed based on a more standard approach as a comparison, or was that just not even on the cards for you? So
no, we didn't. We just knew we've got a budget, and Andrew's got a background in project management, so we're really looking at how much we're going to cost. But no, we didn't look at what.
Well, let's put it differently. So we've looked at, I don't know, 90% of the elements of the cost of the house, and so we've got a pretty good budget. It's not going to be much different from that, and we're currently at what would it be, £1,800 per square metre of house floor space. And the industry standard at the moment is looking at 2,500 to 3,000. So so we've done that, So by doing it simply and thinking about it carefully, you can use good quality materials like hempcrete is a really good insulator, but you don't have the other costs for elements in the wall that can bump the price of a conventional build up. So the swings and roundabouts, which means we can have a really good house without costing the earth.
Yeah. Excellent, John. I hope that helps a little bit. Picking up on the hempcrete again, Susan is saying that she's having failed external solid wall insulation removed, and would like to know more about the hempcrete as external wall insulation. Susan, if you are still there, what sort of property have you got? Are you in a more modern cavity walled home, or are you in an older solid brick, solid stone property? But anyway, yeah, do you know anything, Andrew or Yolanda, about using hempcrete as external wall insulation?
Yeah, I don't. We're not technical experts in hempcrete in that sense, because we've looked at only our application. But you know, I said earlier, there's 3 ways of using hempcrete: so blocks, casting, and spraying. Casting is quite popular for new builds where you've got an open timber frame and you just cast around the frame, and it's not a structural material, I should say, but it can be quite rigid, but it's not structural. So you do need the timber frame in that context. But the guy who we got in contact, who's like well, we call him the world expert in hempcrete, Graham Durrant, and he lives in East Anglia somewhere. Okay. And he's been doing it for decades now. He's an architect. And he likes to spray. He's got a spray machine, and when you're dealing with renovations, it's spraying is the way to go. Whereas if you're building new, casting is quite popular. So you just spray. You decide how much insulation you want to get the right thermal characteristics, and then you basically spray it on them. And these guys are really good. They can get almost a flat surface from spraying. They really know what they're doing. So I would say Graham Durrant would be a person to talk to, although he's retiring now, isn't he? And our builder, who's going to be doing our walls, we hope, is a guy called Zach Small, what's his organisation? The Green Building Association or something. I can't remember either. He's in the middle. Yeah. So, but yeah, do some research on the web, and you can see videos and all sorts of applications of doing that. But not being an architect or a thermal modelling person, I don't know how it would work with different types of walls. But yeah.
Yeah, I would get. Yeah, we'll give you Graham Durrant's details, and Graham will know. Yeah, he's got so many other contacts. Yeah, he's the OG apparently. So yeah.
Right. Well, there you go. Okay, so Susan, we'll show you some details there. And actually, it might be that we, as Future Ready Homes, could give you a bit of advice on that as well. We've got a technical panel that is available free of charge at the moment, and there are energy assessors, and we've got people that can do modelling. So, for instance, we might be able to do a bit of work with you and model re-rendering your property with different materials, such as wood fibre, hempcrete. There are a few different options. You're saying 1800, so it would need to be a breathable, vapour open natural material anyway. So yes, I will be in contact with you, and we'll see what we can do to help you there. Right, I think that's all the questions. If you could just stop sharing screen for a moment, Andrew. I'm just going to pop up what we've got coming up next for people. Lovely, thank you. Let me just find it.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Here we are. Let's go on to the next slide. So, what have we got in store for you lovely people? Well, this webinar was part of Green Open Homes Online, and we've got some more of these coming up. So please do join us for the next 3 Mondays. We've got Monday the 17th, retrofitting a 1950s cavity walled home. So that's one that's had already had the cavity walls filled, but they wanted to go further. So that's seeing what you can do to get your insulation and your airtightness much better on a more modern property. 24th of November, the following Monday, retrofit or start from scratch. So this is a lady that's recently had a new build passive house, but alongside that, they were renovating a barn and doing that to NFIT standard. So she's going to be weighing up the process of those two processes and maybe what she would do again or what she wouldn't do. So that's going to be interesting. And then on the 1st of December, it's a bit different. We've got Border Oak joining us. So they are Leinster based and they produce timber frame new builds, but also extensions. And when they're doing their new builds and their extensions, they do put in huge amounts of insulation and so make them as sustainable as possible. So they're going to be showing us a few of their recent projects and kind of talking through that process. So that should be interesting. And then of course you can get out in person and see some homes. So if you go on greenopenhomes.net, we have got homes across Shropshire, Herefordshire and Telford and Wrekin, all different sorts of ones. Some new builds, a lot of people have retrofitted, people who have done external wall insulation, internal wall insulation, that have got solar panels and batteries and everything you could want to see. They are open throughout the rest of this month over the weekends. So go and have a good nosy on that and see if there's anything nearby to you that you would be particularly interesting to you. And aside from that, we have in Herefordshire at least surveys, retrofit whole house surveys available. So if you are looking to do work, if you are looking to retrofit your home but you're not really sure what to do, so you're kind of thinking, I've got this budget, I've got this goal, but what is the right thing for me to do? Because retrofit upgrades, they're not cheap, and you need to really think where to focus your energies, what to do first, and also do it in such a way that you're not going to preclude being able to do more things in future. So you can apply for a survey, and as I mentioned just now, we also have a tech panel available. So if you've got anything really specific on your own property, you say, oh, I'm having problems with this wall or anything, do come to us and we'll see if you can help. We can see if we can help you, and that is all available free of charge. So I will put all of that on an email because I don't expect you to remember all of that. But yeah, just want to say as well, thank you very much to Andrew and Yolande. It was so inspiring. I'm definitely going to be in contact with you because I have some aspirations for a bit of land that I have and building something. So yeah, really, really exciting, really interesting, and just really useful, I think, to challenge for everyone, to challenge the norm and how we think things, how we do things. And it's so easy just to, you do what you've always done and what everyone else does because that is what you do. But actually, if you stop and think and challenge some of those ideas, we can make changes. We can make really quite considerable changes without that much effort, just from being more aware, more conscious. So I think that's my takeaway message. Yeah, so David has said, thank you very much for a really interesting and inspiring talk. Going back through notes of all the things that they want to do at their home. And they found brilliant people to use too. So yeah, that's really good to hear. So if there are no other questions or comments, I will let you all go and enjoy the rest of your day and hopefully see you all next week. That is